Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome back to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today is dedicated in loving memory of Sebastian Zar, Alav Shalom. Lilu Nishmat Eliyahu Moshe ben Abraham, Alav Shalom, for his Shidduchim by his family and friends. Please, all those who took on Mishnayot, Lilu Nishmato, please make sure you finish it if the Shidduchim. Also dedicated in honor of Esther and Joshua Chakshur on the birth of their baby girl this past Thursday. Maurice and Judy Chosh, Mazal Tov and Mubarak. Breakfast in the Class also dedicated and sponsored by Abby and Ian Hakol, dedicated as a Seudah, Toda'ah, and Hakarat HaTov to Hashem. That's beautiful. What a beautiful thing. Hashem should bless you, Be'ezrat Hashem, to see Nisei Nisim always and forever in your life is Be'ezrat Hashem. Also dedicated for the Refuah Shlema and continued health of Chana Batzim Fega and the complete Refuah, the Yashma Mazar Fortuné, and Chaim Fel Frida. Finally, the learning for this week is dedicated by the Torah Center Silver donors, David A. and Joseph A. Cohen. Remember the Nishmat, their sister, Rachel Shelley Dweck, Rachel Bat Chaya Alea Hashalom. Okay, I found it here. Let's see if this works. So, we'd also like to welcome long-time listener, first-time attenders.
And we need to say Amen.
Okay, we need to say Amen. What are your names?
Shmuley and Mindy Lowenthal.
Welcome to Shmuley and Mindy Lowenthal. Long-time listeners, first-time attenders, first-time Amen sayers. There we go, okay. So let's begin. I want to share with you one idea that really I was very, very moved by, and it's how we will begin today's class. Please only answer Amen if you're listening to this live. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Shehakol Niheh Baro. Okay. So we read a little bit about Avraham Avinu sending Eliezer on a very important mission. Eliezer, he says, I have a son, his name is Yitzchak. What would have happened if he would have died? If he would have died during the Akedah and he never would have been able to have children, never would have been able to get married. I did not do my due diligence as a father if I did not find him someone who he could marry. And ironically, by the way, it's one of the only times we find this concept of in Shidduchim where a father finds a daughter, a wife for his child. Right? Interesting. Yitzchak says to Yaakov, just go. Yaakov finds his own Shidduch. Right? So, it's an interesting thing. You also find Hagar finding for Yishmael a Shidduch. But other than this, the concept that the parents are finding Shidduchim for their children is somewhat of a more modern invention. Although a lot of parents would like to tell their kids that that's not modern, and modern is doing it the other way around. But interestingly, in the Torah, it's not something we find by Avraham Avinu. But Yitzchak, you don't find that situation. You don't find it mentioned by Yaakov that he finds any of his children Shidduchim. But I guess that's because they were complete tzaddikim. And they were able to engage in this process on the highest possible level without anything clouding their judgment. Today, it's a little bit more difficult to do so. So we try and make sure that we create the runway for success by not having situations with red flags get involved. So that's an interesting aside. However, he asks Eliezer to go. And I want to share with you an idea that I saw brought down by Rav Goel El Karif. Now listen, it's just fascinating. The Pasuk says that Abraham tells Eliezer, he says, listen, I want you to go find a wife for my son, and in order to find this wife, I want you to go back to the place, to the village where I came from. And Eliezer asks a very interesting question, a question that many of us will remember is pregnant with meaning and with purpose. But he says, what should I do? Avraham Avinu, what should I do? Ulai lo toveh isha lalechet acharai. maybe she won't want to come after me. Here I am, going to her hometown of Aram Naharaim, right? She's comes from this very famous village. Now I'm going to tell her to come back to where we are. Maybe she doesn't want to go to the land of Canaan. Maybe she doesn't want to move to Israel. Maybe she's nervous about chinuch opportunities. Maybe she's nervous about her kids being Israeli. I don't know what she's worried about. But maybe she won't come back. That was a laugh of way too much knowledge, by the way. There was way too much behind that laugh. My friends, he says, what should I do? And Avram's answer is fascinating. Now let me tell you why Avram's answer is fascinating. Because let's hit pause for a minute. Chachamim tell us that this man Eliezer, where does he come from? He's not a person who's operating in a vacuum. Anyone know? Yes, he is from Damascus, Damascene. He is from Damascus, right? He is Syrian, right? Shami though, right? Where, does anyone know where he's from? Who's his father? Fascinating. Al-Khamim tell us that he was the son of Nimrod. Now, we know something very interesting about Nimrod. Sorry? He tries to kill Abraham. True. I'm not sure you want to hire that guy's son to work for you. Imagine it says that on the resume. So you want to work for me? I see here that your father tried to kill me.
Didn't Nimrod do some teshuvah at the end?
Possibly. Yeah, but I mean still, right? So, what do we know about Nimrod? It tells us that he is Ish Gibor Tzayid. He's a hunting warrior. Now, in the Torah, we have two definitions, and we find this actually more than once, where we find out that someone is a hunter. And Chazal tell us that not only do we mean simply that he shoots bears, right, and lions, and stuffs them, and puts them up, in his hunting lodge, but rather that just like Esav, that Esav was tzayid befiv. He hunted not in his mouth, but with his mouth. He had the most amazing way of being able to trap and entrap people with his words. Esav did. Interesting enough to notice that Esav actually is the one that manages to trap and kill Nimrod with his words. What goes around, comes around, baby. But Nimrod is actually a master trapper. Some of you are old enough to remember that we went to school. Only the cool kids had, you didn't have a folder. You were a geek if you had a folder. All the cool kids had, a trapper keeper. That is like high levels of organization. Like your folders then went into a binder. Anyway, Esav trapped Nimrod. But what did Nimrod do in entrapping people? I used my phone. Yes? What did Nimrod do? Anyone know? Sorry? Maybe, but that's not what I mean. I'm talking about in how he trapped, specifically with his words. Chachamim tell us that he causes the entirety of the world to rebel against God. In the story of the Migdal Bavel, to build the tower. So Nimrod is so named because he literally gets everyone to Nimrod, let's rebel. Fascinating story I mentioned, I think it was last year, that there's certain names in the Torah that are negative names. And we don't really use these names. You don't come across a lot of baby Nimrods. Except in Eretz Israel, in Israel they call them Nimrod. And the reason why we don't do it is because why would you name your kid to rebel? there was once a man who came to the Chazon Ish, I believe it was, and his parents were very anti-secular atheist, and they asked him what to name their kid, and he said Nimrod. As if you come from religion, Nimrod means to rebel against religion. But if you come from anti-religion, what does rebelling against that mean? Religion. I always thought this poor guy who then does teshuvah and like Esha Torah or something, you know, that is under the chuppah, and his Rebbe is like, so what's your name for the ketubah? He's like, Nimrod. Is that what your friends call you? No, they call me Rod. Either way, my friends, so what's going on? Nimrod convinces the world to rebel against God. Who's his son? Eliezer. Eliezer functions as a servant of Abraham. But what is his primary function? Damesek Eliezer from Damascus, Shaya Dole Umashke Mitorato Sherabo, that he would draw out and feed all of the masses the Torah of his Rebbe. Now, think of the irony of the rebellion of Nimrod's son. A man who tries to kill Abraham for pushing monotheism, for not running after idol worship. What does Abraham's right-hand man go? In yeshiva, they would have a guy who would go over the shiur. He was called the chozer. Who's the guy who goes over Abraham's Torah? Who teaches everyone Abraham's take on monotheism? The rebel's son, who rebels against him, who has a gift. He has a gift of being able to convince people. That's why he's Doleu Mashke Mitorato Sherabo. He could convince the most hardened atheist. He could convince the Shomer HaTzainik that God exists. If he was alive today, he could convince Mandani. My friends, let's go back now. Eliezer says, what should I do if the girl doesn't want? What should Avram say? You could convince anyone of anything. Convince her. Bribe her. Persuade her. Tell her about how amazing Israel is. Sign her up for Nefesh B'Nefesh. Tell her how much tax benefits she'll get if she's a Oleh Chadash. I mean, what? What is going on here? Says Rav Goel Karif something unbelievable. What's Avram's response? Maybe she won't want to come. Avram says, well, ve'im lo toveh ha'isha lalechet acharecha, she doesn't want to follow you. V'nikita mishibuati zot, I release you from my oath. Says Rav Goel Karif. When it comes to Shidduchim, and in truth, when it comes to anything, but especially when it comes to Shidduchim. Shidduchim and choosing the person you're going to marry is the single biggest decision of your whole life. In fact, those of you who were here this past Shabbat will have heard Rabbi Mizrahi say about his Rebbitzin that she's the only decision that he needed to make in this life. Everything else can come from that decision if they're a true Ezer Kenegdo. So it's the most important decision in the world. Says Avraham to Eliezer, if she says no, walk away. It's not meant. Hashem doesn't want it. You did your hishtadlut, she doesn't want to, don't force it. I know you could. I know you could put pressure. I know you could make phone calls. I know you could persuade. I know you could dangle something in front of them. Don't. I don't want you to try too hard. Vinikita mishibuati zot. Because especially when it comes to this area, the area of Shidduchim. You try too hard, you over-hishtadlut it. What does Chovot HaLevavot say? Hashem says, oh, you got this? You want to take control? You want to force the issue? Go right ahead. Do what you like. I don't want you to do it. It's not good for you. You want to force it? Okay, you can marry whoever you like. What an amazing idea. How a person can do everything that they need to do, make their best, shoot their best shot, and then, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does work, matovu manaim. But if it doesn't, obviously Hashem has something else in plans, in the works. By the way, it might be that Hashem wants you to have the shidduch, just not yet. Not yet. I think to myself of Hagar. The pasuk tells us that at the end of Avram's life, he marries Keturah. Who's Keturah? Hagar. Has many children from her. Hagar was supposed to be Avram's sole wife. Build a family with him. Just not yet. Too early. So you know what? She needs to go on a journey. She needs to come back at a different time, in a different space, when Avram's in a different place, whatever the case might be. But my friends, think about this concept and recognize one thing. Sometimes I'm very sure about a shidduch because it ticks all of the boxes. All the boxes that was set by who? I say this all the time. When Hashem blessed me with my wife, He blessed me with someone that I didn't know that I needed. Yes, of course, she ticked the boxes that I thought I needed at that time. A guy who's sitting and learning, maybe he's going to go into chinuch in Israel, maybe he'll get a job as a rabbi in Deal, New Jersey. Like, did she or did I have any idea I'd go to London for 13 years? Or that we'd end up in Manhattan? We always joke, she never would have married me, and I wouldn't have married me. You know, imagine me sitting there like a dib thinking I know what I need, not realizing that I was going to need to have someone that would follow me, that would support me in a place where nobody from the Syrian community just picks up and moves to some rando country. We have no connections in England. We didn't know anybody. We had no family there. And then to come here from there, it was never in the cards. This was, like they say, not on my bingo card. Neither that nor this. So I didn't know, but Hashem knew. Imagine I'm forcing a choice. How crazy is that? When a person lives their life this way, they avoid so much stress. And there's such a level of acceptance in what Hashem is sending you. You know, we were talking about this last night in the class. You know, when Trump lost the election last time, and everyone's going crazy. How could this happen? You know, we needed Trump to do this and to do that. And Hashem's like, you do need Trump. But you need him later much more. When you're going to be at war, when you're going to need to get hostages back, that's when you're going to need him the most. So you know what? You think you need it now. At least for the moment, there's something called term limits. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's going to carry on. But at least for the moment, you can only run twice. I was saving him for you. So Eliezer asks, what should I do? And I always found it ironic. What's Eliezer's name? Eliezer. God helps. And the guy called Eliezer is asking, what should I do if she doesn't want to come? So I'm going to give you an answer on two levels. Answer number one, isn't that always the case? Isn't it always the case that a person who doesn't know what to do or where to go fancies themselves and considers themselves a person of tremendous emunah? Isn't it always the person who walks around with I love you Hashem stickers, and tells everyone else to have faith that when something comes their way, all of a sudden falls apart? And their own family members and their own rabbi have to tell them, aren't you the bumper sticker person? With to have faith in Hashem? So the simple level is, when it comes down to me being under the gun, to Eliezer, his job on the line, his boss telling him, swear to me. And Eliezer doesn't know what to do. He doesn't want to lose his job. He doesn't want to let down his employer. So all of a sudden, his name is Eliezer. He doesn't know what to do. But a deeper understanding comes from a deeper understanding. In Tefillah we say, in the first beracha, Melech, Hashem is a king, Ozeru Moshiach Magen. He helps and he saves and he protects. We've discussed many times that these three levels are actually a progression in what we're asking from Hashem. Hashem, you're a king who helps. Helps means that I got some and you got some. You help me. Right? Help me. I do some, you help me. The second level is when a person needs more than help, there's nothing they could do, they need Hashem to save them. I can't do it, I need you, Hashem save me. I can't do anything. It's not that I'm doing some, you're doing some. And the highest level is Magen. Magen is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not only does he save you and you do nothing, but he protects you in a level where you don't even realize that you need to be saved. Someone shot at you, Hashem protected you. You know how? Because the bullet malfunctioned. So it's not that, God forbid, the bullet hit him. He went to the hospital and Hashem saved him with a great surgery. It's not that the bullet came, whizzed by his ear as he turned his head. Right? Saved. Magen. The guy's up on the roof, dies of frostbite. While he's waiting to shoot. That's Magen. They find him 3 years later. Frozen on the roof with bullets that say bye-bye Trump. That would have been Magen. Eliezer's name is Eliezer. My God helps. I do, he does. What do we say about Avraham? Eliezer is the lowest of the three. What do we say about Baruch Atah Amunai? Magen Avraham. Those are the two ends of the spectrum. Avraham says, I believe in Magen Avraham. That's where I live my life. So if I asked, Hashem doesn't need any more of my help. Imagine that's how you feel you live your life. How much easier is life? Not just in terms of how hard you work, but also in how much angst you save yourself. Parents ask me all the time, they have a child that's just gone off the deep end. What did I do wrong? What do I need to do? And sometimes there's what parents need to do. There's sometimes that they dropped the ball and they didn't do. But who said, just because something happened a certain way, that means you didn't try hard enough? Who said? Maybe you did everything right. Maybe you're not terrible parents, maybe you're the best parents, and you could not have done more. And maybe thinking you could have done more is abdicating your understanding of emunah in Hashem, of emunah in Hashem's decisions to give people bechira, free will choices. So Avraham tells Eliezer, relax. Don't try too hard, let it come to you. You have to do what you need to do, but after that, the second interesting point is that in the world of emunah, we find Eliezer learned the lesson from Abraham's expression. He comes to this house and he sees how excited they are by his money, how impressed they are with his wealth. He's got all his jewelry, he's got a piece of paper that says that everything that belongs to Abraham is going to go to Yitzchak. But sometimes in a shidduch, in a marriage and a relationship, where one of the parties is paying for everything at the wedding, the indication and the feeling that they give the other side is, well, I'm paying for everything, so if you want to pay, you could decide, but if I'm paying, I decide. This feeling of imbalance. You were lucky to find me. I'm the rich one, you're the poor one. I'm the religious one, you're the less religious one. My kid went to the best yeshiva. Where'd your daughter go? Where'd your son go? Avraham Avinu taught Eliezer well. Eliezer has all that you could ever imagine. He has the best bachur. Yitzchak Avinu excelled in the yeshiva of Shem Ve'ever. In fact, I don't know if you're going to find many boys in the shidduch market. He actually was a korban. What? Yes, he's a... Some people want to live in Israel. My son has to live in Israel. He's technically not allowed to leave Israel. Yitzchak Avinu is the best bachur ever. Perfect in every way. Also, they come from money. The best boy, they don't need your support. How should Eliezer be relating to these people who want his money, who don't come from the best yichus? You should be so lucky. But Eliezer has learned the musar of Avraham Avinu. So he comes and he turns to Hashem and he says, Hashem, please, master of Avraham. And I think it's very specific, that point. Elokeh, the God of my master Avraham. Why is he saying the God of my master Avraham? Not my God. Not the God of a man who thought that he could try harder and get the shidduch. He could use his connections. He could tell someone to call that person to call that person. Not that guy. The God of Avraham Avinu. Hakrena lefanai. Please, let this girl happen. Let her happen to come to me. Bring her via a miracle. It'll be a miracle if I succeed. The people that don't have faith believe that they do everything. That I have the right product. That I have the right answers, the right smarts to get the job. I come from good yichus. I do enough in my shul. I'm a respected family, synagogue community member. Things will come my way because of what I've done and how I've invested, and I deserve. But after Eliezer gets the musar, he comes and he davens like he has nothing. Hashem, hakre, let it just happen to come to me, because I don't think of it like I have this sewn up and sealed. Because in truth, a person of emunah understands that with everything going for you, you might not find the shidduch, or get the job, or get the luck, or the mazal, and with nothing going for you, and your emunah intact, Hashem could give it to you, could give it all to you, with a cherry on top. Even when he talks to Betuel and Lavan, not only is God humble, is Eliezer humble in front of God, because I think you find people that are humble in front of Hashem, but are arrogant in front of human beings. They're crying like this to Hashem, Hashem, I'm a nobody. But then when they speak to everybody else, you're a nobody. Eliezer says, if you would give me Rivkah, oh idol worshipping, stealing, people who need my money, who are going to get Yitzchak Avinu A millionaire, billionaire, Talmid Chacham, perfect person who comes with no baggage. Yeah. V'asita chesed imadi, you would have done the greatest kindness with me. Maybe you have more than your consuegro. Maybe you're bringing money to the table and you're paying for a wedding and you're giving them X. But what are they giving you? They're giving you a tzadeket for your son. In what world is that something that you could pay for with all the money that you have? With all the yichus that you have? What's your yichus worth if it ends with you? You think your yichus matters? Then get on your knees and beg me for the person that's going to help you continue it. That is the lesson that Abraham imparts to Eliezer. And Eliezer, as always, dole umashke torato sherabo, not only does he teach it to others in the classroom, he exemplifies it in the classroom of life, in the way he interacts with Lavan, Betuel, and Rivkah. May we always have that humility. May we always have that emunah to feel like we need Hashem when it feels like we need Him and when it doesn't feel like we need Him. May we have the humility to be able to recognize that while we make checklists on what we see, God sees into our future. And the person who is perfect for you right now would be a disaster for you later. No, she's perfect, and I'm depressed that she won't go out with me. Do you know that I'm planning on giving you a really difficult child? And yes, she's fun, this girl, this guy, nice, sits and learns, does the right thing, but doesn't have the patience for a kid like that, to turn a kid like that from a diamond in the rough to the leader he's going to be in the Jewish people. This is going to be your child. You know what kind of partner you need for that child? You don't know yet that he or she is going to get sick. Are they the type of person who has the staying power to be in a relationship when it's not easy? You don't know. Recognizing that is like a person who goes to a financial advisor and says, I don't know anything about the markets, help me. And the financial advisor telling the person, well, why don't you do what you think is right? Imagine going to the tax person, saying, I don't know anything about taxes. And the tax person saying, well, do you feel like this is a good tax return? The guy's doing brain surgery on you, brings you up out of your unconscious state. Listen, I just wanted to ask you, there's two roads for us to take. We could either do this. Like, you do it. You're the brain surgeon. For something as simple as that, with a specialty that it only takes you 7 years to learn how to do, or in the other cases, less, we are willing to throw our entire selves at the mercy of that person. Surely something as complicated and as unknowable as your eternal future, as the raising of your family, as the way and curveballs life will throw you, we could rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu and not over-try and force the world to give us things that Hashem is telling us are not good for us. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen. Rabbi Chanaya ben Akashya omer, Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu